Roger, Roger. Okay, just saying it again. I'll spell it phonetically. Golf. Harbour. It's H Hotel. I should really do it properly. Starting again. Golf Hotel Romeo Alpha Delta India Oscar at X. What the hell's X? X-ray, which is X-ray Tango Romeo Alpha Extra dot Charlie Oscar dot November Zulu. Golf GH Radio at extra.co.nz. Boy, it's a mouthful at this time of the day. Over. All right. Boy, it's amazingly clear. I guess you've got a steel boat or maybe a fantastic ground plane like Trevor. Well, good morning, Trevor. I will just greet everybody who has joined us at 1:15. This is Gulf Harbour Radio, ZMH286, Patricia and David. And first of all, I want to know whether Villamy has caught fish to bring ashore. We cleaned up down the edge of the reef. We had a couple of seal probably. And managed to catch one little tuna mackerel. So that was It's always amazing, isn't it, when you desperately want to take fish ashore because you're sort of like going home there. Then you can't find anything.
That's my luck.
Oh, well, that's our luck too. All right, good morning, everybody. And it's not a very good morning here at Gulf Harbour. Very, very gusty. 9 knots from the southwest, but big gusts. And I'm choking here. 14 degrees, though. It's not too bad temperature-wise, but the barometer is dropping 1004.7. So not a very brilliant day here, but a good one for being in front of the fire. And it sounds very beautiful down there at Falanga, and also sounds good up there in the Bay of Islands in the Lau group. Thank you, Whistler. Very calm up there, 70% cloud cover. But boy, there are 30 boats just arrived from the World Arc Rally, and they have checked in at Loma Loma in the Vanua Balavu area there. So it will be rather busy there, and certainly prices of things ashore will be expensive. But just you might want to make a note, folk, that their next rendezvous is in Muscat Cove on July 4th or 5th. So thanks, Monty and Margie. It's good news to make sure that people are either there before or after, because that's a very big group of boats. Obsession reporting pretty nice weather up there at Tonga, Big Mamas, 5 to 10 from the east and 20% cloud cover. And we have, of course, a lot of people here in New Zealand who are wanting to leave tomorrow. So we'll have quite a decent session on weather for getting north. And let me see. Well, I always give a bit of news at this time of the day because people have said that they want that. And you will know that the World Cup soccer football thing starts this week. Yes. Well, it's a major event, evidently, if you're into soccer, which I am not. You know, the trouble with sport and knowing what you lot out there might want to hear about is that there are so many different sports. And frankly, I find them all pretty boring unless you have actually played the sport yourself. I mean, we watched baseball. We've got this amazing website now that we can get free.
Don't say baseball like that.
Well, okay. But we did watch a game on Sunday. It was because David's Yankees were playing. They were playing the New York Mets. So it was, you know, a pretty exciting game. And because of that being so close, it was 3-3 for ages. And then, you know, so we watched it. And it's, you know, baseball is a bit like watching concrete settle, mushrooms grow and things like that. But unless you've played it, you see. And, you know, of course, David has played it, and it was his team, so we watched it. And, in fact, there were a couple of exciting bits in it, which I suppose is the same in any sport. There are long periods of boredom, and unless you have played the sport, you don't really understand the strategy. But if you have a team that you are following, let me know. And if you are not interested, let me know, and I won't even mention it. But it has cost the Russians 11.6 billion. 11.6 billion. How you could spend that amount of money on a world soccer tournament, God only knows. But anyway, 11.6 billion has gone into this, so it must be of interest to some people. The sponsorship is very different from what it has been in previous years, because a lot of the normal sponsors from the West pulled out after all of the bribery and corruption charges from the last one, and in fact relating to the next one in 2022 in Qatar. So a lot of the sponsorship this year has come from China and Russia and the Middle East. But anyway, if you are in the slightest bit interested, let me know by email, and I will at least give the results for the team that you are following. And if you don't want to hear anything about it, also let me know, and I won't mention it again. That's about it for the news this morning, because of course the paper is full of stuff about the very major meeting today between Mr. Trump and Kim Jong-un in Singapore. Starts today, so there's all sorts of stuff about that, and also about Mr. Trump's upsetting the entire Western world with his trade decisions, which, when you read about it, are actually quite fair when you see the detail of why he's done what he's done. So anyway, we'll report more about that tomorrow. It's a shame, and I'm sure in 20 years' time you will all be able to sort of push a button and tell me whether you want to hear about this, that, or anything else, and then I can sort of make decisions from there. For those local people from the Auckland area here, the Pine Harbour apartment proposal is going ahead. They have won their case despite the opposition from the marinas in the area, and 28 apartments will go up on Pine Harbour with places to put their boats outside. The main contention was that there was plenty of other space for this, and it did upset the marina space and parking, etc., for people that have berths there. And of course, having got the approval for Pine Harbour, it does mean that places like Galt Harbour, the apartment proposal will go ahead on land which we don't want it to go ahead on. Anyway, that's what's happened locally, and apart from that, there's not an awful lot of news. Does anybody have anything they want to report in about? Please call. Well, that's very, very quiet out there. I'm just checking to see whether we've heard anything. The satellite picture looks actually quite reasonable today, so I'm sure you're all appreciative of that. Let's see, we've got heat wave up there, looking at sunny, only 5 to 10 knots of wind. Gosh, yesterday it was really, really miserable here. We've had an awful lot of rain, so everyone will be quite happy not to be here. Mr. Troy, light breeze from the east. Oh, it sounds lovely up there at Randby, Catherine Bay. And another adventure, leaving Vale this morning to sail to Luganville for some provisions. Good place to go for provisions. Good market there. But do not, Frank, go across from the market and buy meat at the shop there. If you want meat in Luganville, folks, and this is for everybody, you have to take a taxi drive. It's not very far and very inexpensive, and go to the abattoir, because they have beautiful meat there. You can get a lovely big fillet of beef. But don't go to the little shop by the market, because they have all of the meat that the poor cows are just about collapsed before they get to the slaughter. So it's pretty tough. So that's about it for people. So if there's anybody with any report, please call. Well, good morning, gracious lady. I was actually going to call you later to see where the propagation was better, but go ahead. I think I can pick you up. Over. Gracious lady, go ahead. Where are you? Still in Malakula? Over. Wow, it's just not good enough. Does anyone copy them well enough to give me a relay? Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, they're in Spanish Bay and looking to move towards Luganville.
Oh, we've got a couple of boats going to Luganville. Alrighty, I'll just make sure, David, I think he is covering that area, Vanuatu. He'll cover it later. Yes, in detail, going towards Vanuatu. We've got outside Australia, after a bit of confusion, with my apologies, going from Fiji down to Tanna. Always good to let us know which part of Vanuatu you're going to, folks, because it's so spread out that it makes a little bit of a difference. And remember, folks, there's a couple of volcanoes. It's a wondrous place, Vanuatu, for going to volcanoes. They're so different. And if you want to report on the one at Ambrym, go to the YIT forum. There's a good report there on going to the one in Ambrym. You need to be quite fit because it's a long walk up and down, whereas in Tanna you have that lovely drive, so that's a much easier one to go to. But the volcanoes themselves are very different, and it's pretty exciting, both of them really. All right, well, actually Diego's telling me that it's not all that wonderful up there because it's a little bit on the drizzly side, so rain and overcast at Randwick. All right. Anybody else with anything? Otherwise, we'll go early to the weather. Well, hello, Craig. Il Sogno. Whereabouts are you guys?
Well, good morning to you. We're right in the lee of Veramingo. We've been sailing overnight from 5 days from Vila. Obviously, going to Port Resolution. We're on a course of 141 degrees, making 6.8 knots on water, sailing in the lee. No wind here, but we've had approximately 12 knots from the east and have been able to sail all night, which is always good to go in this direction. 1 meter of long swell from the south, lake there in front of us, and maybe 20% of cumulus just starting to come together, and 1013 on the bottom.
Well, great signal as usual in the lee of Erromango. Oh, it's a funny direction to be going. Usually people go the other direction, so you're lucky to have that easterly. No wind at the moment, but you've sailed all night with the 12 knots from the east, a long 1 meter swell, 20% cloud cover. Now give me your position exactly, over.
18 degrees for 4 minutes, 168 degrees, 5 3 minutes.
Okay, and you're not stopping at Erromango, you're heading on to Tanna, so you'll be presumably going up the mountain at some stage, over.
Very soon, ASAP. Thank you so much.
Okay, we better have a look at cloud cover over the next few days in Tanna, because there's no point in standing around in the cloud there, although the acoustics are always pretty spectacular. All right, clear with Il Sogno. Anybody else? Oh, there was somebody there. Try again and give the boat name a couple of times.
Anthea.
Oh, it's Anthea. Go ahead.
Morning. We are still anchored at Namina Island. It's a beautiful sunny morning, and we are enjoying all the bird life on the island. Over.
Oh, bird life on Namina. Well, I tell you what, we actually have, and I will, gosh, I can see outside now, it's looking fairly evil, pink sky in the morning, shepherd's warning. We actually have pretty good bird life around us now. There's an island just off Gulf Harbour area here, off the peninsula, which is a sanctuary, and we seem to be getting the surplus, because when yesterday we went for a walk, I wouldn't exactly say David loves going for a walk, but he goes for a walk with me, and we had parrots, we had kariru, our very big wood pigeon, and we had tuis, so you don't have to go too far. And even for those people that know Aradona, Heather and Carl, they're finding birds in Spain. So the world is good when you can hear birds. So you're obviously enjoying Namina, over. Yeah, I missed that one. You faded away at the end there. So, but David will be covering weather there shortly. All right, good to hear from you. And I am going to pass the microphone now because there's quite a lot of weather to discuss. It doesn't look too bad in the islands, but let's have a look at getting there and getting from one group to another. Here's David.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Well, today at 500 millibar, we've got a nice ridge east of New Zealand that's supporting a bit of a surface high that's pumping air into the southeast corner of our depression, which is almost sitting over Gulf Harbor Radio, a little bit to the east, but almost directly overhead. The shortwave trough is overhead, and that's providing plenty of lift and spin. Absolutely plenty of lift and spin to keep this very wet and windy low in motion. Yeah, it's fairly large in area, and it's quite gusty here, as Patricia had said, and we've got off and on rain. That'll continue today. All right, as there are probably 15 or more yachts wanting to head off to the islands, I'm going to try to analyze this mission with the view of leaving tomorrow. Winds just offshore on Wednesday, right around lunchtime, are probably to be fairly light. Figure west-southwest, maybe about 15 knots, and probably south-southwest 10 as you're roughly 60 miles out. Now, I'm not talking about just as you leave the harbor. This is probably about 10 hours out, these wind direction and speeds. Now, by midnight, as you continue to head north, figure southwest about 15 knots, thereabouts. And I am using a mesoscale model for this, so it's probably different from what perhaps you're looking at. Now, looking at the projected winds on the trip, most of you are using GFS or EC, and that's good. You can't beat either of those two models. I'm, however, going to be looking at UK Met and my own ideas, so that is possibly going to be different from what you're looking at as well, but at least it gives you another bit of input for your decision. So today, first, however, Area Brett, which is of course covering the Opua area, they have dropped the gale warnings. Colville, though, which is Marsden and Monterey, they still have them raised. So obviously a very, very poor day to think about going anywhere. Looking at southwest 30, just offshore, and easing a little bit later on Wednesday to southwest 15. So that's good news there. Colville, again, for those of you in Marsden, Monterey, you're looking at westerlies 40. Very poor visibility. There'll be heavy rain off and on today, but by tomorrow, around lunchtime, things will be better, and then further offshore, they're even better yet as this low continues to track away from the country. Now, by this morning, we have a secondary low. I talked about that yesterday, and that lies, it will wind up in the path of the passage yachts. But it's going to weaken considerably as it heads southeast, and most probably you're going to have a motor almost 30 south for a bit of the trip, and by late Thursday, this particular depression is going to be gone. It will be absorbed into the weak high that's moving into the area. So that low, that second low, is going to go away. But in the process of going away, it can give some rather strange directions to winds. But mostly they'll be southerly 10 to 15, but it depends on where you're going. I'm assuming most of you are going to Fiji or Tonga. I think a few maybe to Vanuatu, and I'm not sure if anybody's going to Newcastle from New Zealand. Saturday, couple of days from now, between 30 and 25 south, mostly southerlies if you're heading toward, say, the Fiji area, and they'll be turning southeasterlies once you get up to about 25 south. So fairly reasonable winds through Sunday to those islands to the east, except of course Newcastle and possibly Vanuatu might be a bit of a problem area. So be very careful if you're thinking about going there. Tonga, Fiji, they're fine with reasonable southeast trades as you get going on the trip. Now, in a couple of days, our high is going to be moving from directly north of New Zealand to just east of the cruising route. And it's fairly mellow, which is good news. I would say about 1021 millibar. But the next cold front that hits New Zealand will, and by the way, it will extend a frontal band just to the west of Newcastle by Tuesday. So that's about that time frame, about Tuesday, is that cold front. And winds are going to back significantly to feed this front. So in other words, New Caledonia, northeast winds, Anisham is iffy as well. The winds there, you know, depends on the modeling. They could be anywhere east, northeast to northeast. It just depends on what model that you're thinking about. That's why I say it's an iffy proposition to get to Anisham from New Zealand. Now, there's a yacht or two that are heading to Vanuatu from Fiji. That's a different story. But anyhow, if you're going to Tonga and Fiji on that Tuesday time frame, still traveling, you should be okay. In fact, most of you will have reached Tongatapu, I think, by Tuesday, and very, very close to Fiji. So if you are Fiji bound, you might want to put the idea in of getting some easting due to the fact that these winds are going to start backing as this cold front approaches the Newcastle area. So it's going to start to pull those winds around, and there's no point in having headwinds if you can get a little bit of easting in, and definitely get a target speed for your yacht. And if that means in these light areas starting that motor, you may want to do that because you don't want to get caught with the northerlies. All right. As a matter of interest, a lot of you are using, as you are underway, or even I suppose at the dock, you're using Predict Winds models. They're fancy models. Again, I don't know exactly what they are, but they are showing acceptable wind directions right through Tuesday for, well, from Vanuatu all the way to Tonga. They don't show much in the way of the winds backing, which is a bit of a surprise to me. So we'll have to see what really happens there with those models. I'm almost ending the process of doing an analysis on all of these things. So in a day or so, I'll let you know what I've come up with. But anyhow, if you do look at those models, and if you are going to Vanuatu, at least one of their fancy ones does fall off quite a bit of wind for Vanuatu, which that wind is coming from the depression that is approaching New Zealand that we've been talking about, but not so bad for Fiji or Tonga. So there you have it. That's about the next 7 days, really. For those attempting this passage, would please let us know, basically, how many of you are actually underway. If you could drop it, if you're going tomorrow, drop us an email, or if you're doing streaming now, just drop us a note on streaming so we have an idea as to how many are going and where you are going. That way I won't have to waste your time and my time talking about, say, Newcastle if nobody's going there. So in summary then, on this trip, those going to Tonga, this looks like it's a go going tomorrow. You should, as long as you keep up your target speed and keep on moving, going to Tonga looks pretty good. Fiji bound, I believe you must use your motor if your target speed drops down so that you'll be delayed on that trip. And again, you may look carefully as to the route that you're taking and consider getting some easting in just in case the wind backs a little bit sooner. Vanuatu, I don't know. It's possibly doable if you keep your speed up, but I'm not so sure about about heading in that direction. NewCal is definitely very chancy. One of the models says absolutely not, but others seem to imply that that is a possibility. It's the closest one. You can get there if you're fast enough in 5.5 days, but you would have to be that fast to avoid the wind backing. That's what it's going to do. So now if you wait, if you decide not to go on this trip at all, if you don't like the looks of how things are developing, and you're waiting for the next low in front to clear New Zealand, that, in my opinion, isn't going to be until late Thursday, which I believe is the 21st of June. That's when the next frontal band and low pressure system is going to attack New Zealand. And so once that leaves, you'll have southerlies for a little bit if you're thinking about going. But then, unfortunately, the very next low after that one hits New Zealand somewhere around Monday the 25th. So that doesn't give you, that's 3 days. In 3 days, you're barely going to be at 30 south. So that is not going to be a good idea at this point, anyhow, from what I can see. So that means you may not get away from New Zealand until after the 27th of June. And then the long-range progs are looking at a high entering the Tasman, and that high is looking like it might be a 1036. That's a 1036. And as all of you know by now, I do not like highs that are that intense in pressure. They just invite problems, particularly on their northwest corners. So that's not a good sign. So there you have it. It's not very pleasant to look in the future. It almost looks like, other than this Wednesday, June might be a wipeout. And well, this has happened before. So what could I say? Okay, quickly we'll go to the islands now. Time's rolling on here. So Tongatapu's got a bit of a weak trough that's just to its south. So I would expect cloud and showers off and on there. The Ha'apais and Vavau look pretty good on satellite imagery this morning. Vavau could expect northeast winds about 15 to 20 around lunch or through lunch. And the winds look like they're going to veer a little bit to become easterlies by dinner, maybe 15 to 20. Now about the same for the Ha'apais. And Wednesday it looks like easterlies for both areas, and they'll be in the 10 to 15 knot range. Now Fiji is a mixed bag. It shows quite a bit of the broken cloud on the satellite loop this morning. Rain showers look quite probable for Vanua-Levu in those northern areas, but still pretty cloudy elsewhere. And there is converging wind today, easterlies for the Lau, give or take easterlies, the Lau and the Koro Sea, and then southeasterlies for the western areas. And that area is light to moderate, but they are coming together in a convergence, so they're going to support cloud that comes and goes there today. Wednesday brings east to east-southeast winds. They'll be in the 15 knot range, and about the same, I think, Thursday as well. And for Vanuatu, remnants of our trough, still in the far north, but the clouds and so forth are still present up there. Broken, however. Fate looks pretty good, Fate through Erromango, but cloud bands south of there over Anisham and possibly Tanna. Now the winds today, light to moderate, mostly east to east-northeast, up and down the chain, and mostly light to moderate easterlies Wednesday. And New Caledonia, well, boy, they look pretty good on satellite imagery, all of New Cal. So I'd say sunny today, a few scattered clouds, and you get those buildups in the afternoon. Normal stuff, but fairly light air. East-northeast, 8 to 10 knots, and probably shifting easterly by around lunchtime. They haven't done it already. Now tomorrow may see a little bit more of cloud, but the winds light and variable. very, very calm out there, maybe less than 5 knots. They'll tend southerly probably by dinner, but still very, very light. It's perfect weather for exploring the lagoon. And when you get conditions like that, a couple of days of no wind, the visibility in that outer lagoon just skyrockets, and it's great. It really is nice. And that's all I've got right now. Now I know some of you may want some detail on a few spots, so I'm going to end it here and give it to the chief, and call in then if you want a little bit more info on where you are at.
Well, they might not have questions. You might have covered it all. Good. So are there any boats out there that need a bit more detail as to where you're going? Did you cover Vanuatu area?
Yeah, generally.
Yep. Okay, doesn't sound as if there is anybody out there. Well, there might not be anybody listening anyway. So we'll call it quits now and go back to our heater. Might even put the fire on. It's that miserable. It's really grey, damp, windy, and probably very encouraging for those people to make use of this sort of window. It's not too bad a window, and it needs to get you up there.
And let us know.
And let us know. All right, last call. Okay, the boat calling, please call again, and I might need Trevor to relay from the beautiful Falanga area. Go ahead, call again. Oh, it's you, Bill. God, I've got you clear enough. I don't know how I missed you. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I think I doubled it the other day. I'm underway for 37, position 172 and 178. Wire. East southeast of 8 to 10 knots. 40% current cover and 1016 on the bar. And I'm pretty happy with what I've heard already. Thank you.
Alrighty, so I'm off to Savu Savu, and you've got all that. You're booming in, and they have at that position 17, 22, 17. Well, we'll call it 179 east, southeast 8 to 10, 40% cloud cover. Really, really good signal, Bill. Over.
Roger that. We'll probably be off the air once I'm inside the table for a bit.
Yeah, although interestingly enough, we've had quite good signals from there, depending on where people are. But you'll just be enjoying Savu Savu, and yeah, it's changed an awful lot by the sound of it since we were there. Everything's got a lot bigger and busier and more facilities and good eating places by the sound of it. All right, we're clear with Liberation. The other boat that was calling, please try again. Oh, it's outside of Australia, and my apologies to you both for the confusion here. We must have turned our brain off and just thought everybody was leaving from New Zealand. Outsider who are in Fiji looking to go to Vanuatu. Go ahead.
Roger that. It's caused up a little bit of a headache. No problem. We weather forecast 0.
Roger that. Yeah, I sent another email this morning. You probably have got that. The wind will pick up as you go, but shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Did they get the email?
Did you get my email this morning? Over.
Roger.
Yep, hopefully all is well there. So, yep, outside of Australia heading down to Tanna. All right. Yeah, and again, sorry for the confusion. All right. Good signal, by the way. Anybody else before we leave the frequency? Go ahead, Trevor. Oh, okay. The other boat that was calling, please try again. Oh, okay. I presume they're down in the Falanga. Well, no, they can't be. So they might be further north. Otherwise, you would hear them. Hollandaise, we'll call you Hollandaise because that's as close as we can get. Go ahead. Trevor, I know that you are there. Could you? But that's about it. It's very, very light. You're going to have to do some work on your radio, Hollandaise. Trevor, did you make much sense of that?
Yes, I just reported in the Anglo like the police doing outside pretty nice with it. Do you want any weather Alberta?
Where is he?
Somewhere, I'll just have to ask.
Okay, he's wanting to hit the Malaya about 10 days time.
Okay, so you'll certainly be covering that whole area as people are moving around Fiji there. We're certainly going to and fro the Lao group, so we'll definitely be covering the weather there, Alberto. Thanks for the name, Trevor. I think we'll call you Alberto. Berto, it's a lot easier than the boat name. All right, we'll let you get back to the galley or whatever you were doing, Trevor. Thank you for that, and we'll say good morning to everybody, and we will be back again tomorrow morning, same time, same place on 8752. So enjoy your lovely day in the tropics, and particularly Rapaki. I hope you've got the boat absolutely spiffy for your family today, Peter, and we will be back again tomorrow. Cheers all.